Hello, welcome to the Jerick Show.
Welcome to The Erich Show, featuring your hosts, Javvad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
Yes, the Jerick Show, the only show you need to give your weekly fix of cybersecurity news, views, and unsolicited opinions. And speaking of unsolicited, Eric Krohn, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, but I don't know. It kind of looks like that stuff in the background is a little off. Is it tilted? Your little sign back there? I'm sorry.
Okay.
For Christmas, I'm getting you a level, man. That's all there is to it.
Give us the update, Evander Holyfield. How's the year?
Oh, yeah. So this one here, yeah. Okay, I'm mirrored in my screen. Yeah, this one, it's still a little swollen. Had to go in and have some skin cancer removed 11 stitches later. But I still have my ear. So, although they're removing stitches next week. And I'm wondering if that's what's just holding it on at this point. I'm going to be like, what was it, Eeyore and Pooh's thing?
The tail.
Yeah. Just going to fall right off. They're going to have to pin it back on. Yeah, no. I don't know, man. It's freaking hurts, though. And I realized, one of the things I've realized through this whole like ongoing thing is that I have old man ears. Like, yeah, your ears keep growing as you get older.
Yep. Ears and nose, apparently they grow till the day you die.
Yeah.
And your eyes are the same size for the whole of your life. Your eyeballs.
Well,
which is why they look like horrendously big in babies. But then you kind of like fill them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I also learned if you're going to have a procedure done to your ear, make sure that there's no hair growing out of your ears too.
Well, that's impossible. The older you get, the more hair you find growing in every place where you don't
sliding
want
it. Down.
Yeah. It just slides down everywhere. It's
man, how you doing this week?
Yeah. It's Friday. So
it is Friday.
I guess I count my blessings. I have had ear surgery. I haven't had stitches. I haven't, had to worry about my hairline being as bad as some people's.
Turn around.
I ain't falling for that one again. Okay.
Oh, hell, man.
Okay.
Anyway, here we are, man.
So let's cheer you up with the very first story that I know will be near and dear to your heart and won't make you mad at all. But the Pentagon is taken to task over background check security. It's been a report by the Pentagon's Government Accountability Office. And they said that it deemed to be inadequate security protections for the systems agencies used to perform background checks. Now, so as you like to remind us almost on a weekly basis, and me almost on a daily basis, that you are a vet, a retired disabled vet. How does this make you feel, knowing that everything you've given to your country and they can't even secure your background check data?
They've already lost it, man. I had that TS and then some other letters and things after it, top secret and stuff clearance. So they have China ended up getting it from OPM because it got leaked. And so they have my shoe size and like just everything you'd ever want to know. My wife, she had a secret clearance, so they have all her information. I am not shocked that this is still going on over there. It's disgusting. And the problem is you have to give them so much information to get some of these clearances. I mean, so much information. And then to mishandle it and to be, yeah, you're right. This isn't going to put me in a good mood, man. Thanks. Thanks for throwing that at me first thing.
Well, think of the benefits. When you go to AliExpress, you don't have to set up an account. They always say, welcome.
They already know.
And they know exactly what you're looking for. They know your shoe size, so it's all good.
Dude, oh man. You know what? The more we create data and stuff here these days, and it seems like organizations are real happy to gather as much as they can about you. It always makes me kind of on edge a little bit. And the fact is they collect more and secure it more poorly. Like, for example, I know it's, we have our property up north here. It's a couple acres, and our power is provided by a co-op. So it's kind of like a not-for-profit sort of electrical company. Okay. Well, because it's not for profit and whatever, if they have a profit at the end of the year, they actually give it back to their members. So they sent us a letter, and we had to give them our names, social security number, like all of this information, and mail it back to them in order for us to be a part of that as part of the membership thing. And the more I think about it, it's just like so many organizations need all this information, want all this information. A lot of times they go through the process of confirming an identity, but then what do they do after that? Well, they hold on to it. They don't need it anymore, but they still hold on to it just in case or something like that, right? And that's where things just end up biting us in the butt. Now,
Yeah.
there's some stuff out there like ID Me and some other services like that that will verify your information on behalf of or instead of you giving it to the company. Like I think Vet Ticks is one of these things that we have, veteran tickets. So they may have special deals on like tickets at the baseball game and stuff like that. To be able to get into it, you have to go through ID Me, and then they confirm that yes, you are in fact a veteran, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't have to give them, Vet Ticks, all of my information, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping we'll see more and more of that kind of stuff going on in the future, but then it makes like ID Me a hell of a target.
It
So
does. So there's no real easy. I think the what you really want is a mechanism where you can use certain data for immediate verification. Like when you make an online payment on your card, it asks for the CVC code, and then
mhm,
according to PCI, it's illegal for them to store that. It's only
right.
used for that transaction, and then it's deleted. So I think we need to be getting better at letting data go. Use it for its intended purpose and then just scrub it, delete it, remove it from existence. If you need it again, you can reach out and go through
Yeah.
that inconvenience. But I'd rather go through that inconvenience of having to give my CVC, for example, every time I make a card transaction
Yeah.
than the vendor just holding on to it.
No, I agree. I agree on that. That's a great
Excellent.
point.
See, I'm right as
You
always.
are.
Um,
Oh,
This feels like Groundhog Day, doesn't it? Credential stuffing. It's not really a new attack. People always
no.
talk about password security and don't reuse your passwords and change them if they've been in a breach every time. And yet we still hear of credential stuffing attacks. And in this case, Levi's 72,000 accounts, which is a
Eh,
not insignificant amount.
no, it's not as much as the North Face, which was like
No.
294,000 accounts, right? But here's the thing about these is we may hear about these with what we do in the cyber world, but the average Joe user is never going to see this story or any other story or understand what credential stuffing is or why reusing passwords is such a bad idea and results in stuff like this. Because that's what credential stuffing is. It's taking a known good username and password, throwing it in some software, and trying that credential pair on a whole bunch of different places, from banks to retailers to et cetera, et cetera. And if you reuse your password, bammo, they're in there. So that's what it is. It's a very simple attack. And we as security people run around and tell people, don't reuse your password. Don't reuse your password for exactly this reason. But many of those people are never going to see this story and understand why we run around telling them not to do that. That's the one frustrating thing about these.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors there, isn't it? One is that the message doesn't reach the people. Secondly, the why isn't clear.
Yeah.
Third, I think we don't make it easy for them to use alternatives. Like if you're used to using technology and you can afford the payment, then yeah, use a password manager. Um, but it again, it's not convenient. It's not something that everyone fully understands yet. If you work with technology, yes, and I love
Yeah.
password managers. I use them myself.
Well, and in all fairness, there are free ones too.
There are free
So,
ones. There's stuff
you
that you can
mentioned
save. Your
cost, but
browser free helpfully asks.
well, Bitwarden is free. And I mean, there are free versions. So it's not even a cost thing, but you're right. Unless you have somebody technical in your life, the odds of somebody telling you about a password manager are probably pretty slim.
Yeah. It's all about where you add the friction and where there's no. People will always want to choose a path of least resistance. And security products for too long, they just add friction to the process. And if we can remove that, it makes it easier. The example I used years ago is the front doors. Like now there's like one handle. When you close the door, you turn the handle up, and there's like 5 or 6 of these hooks that go into the thing, and then you deadlock it, and then so the bolts automatically go through it. So it's one motion. You just turn the handle up, and then you turn the key. Before it used to close the door, then you'd have a manual bolt at the top and the bottom, and then you'd have a chain that you put across it. That was
What neighborhood do you live in, man?
I mean, okay, I might be slightly vague, but there was like, multiple things on the door that you had to do separately to achieve a similar or level of security. All I'm saying is that there are ways of making security more.
You got to drop the steel bar through here. You got to slide the dresser against it.
It's how many times as a kid were there arguments in your house where your parents were like, "Who didn't lock their door on the car?" Because like one of you got out without putting it down or without holding the handle open when you close the door, and like the car.
Okay, but let's get back to your whatever it is you were trying to say here.
And then you have to pull up the drawbridge, and then, all I'm saying,
drawbridge. You and drawbridges, man.
Is that there are ways
story, though.
We should think about how we make it easier.
So the beauty of password managers is it feels like friction in some ways, right? Because I got to go there, and they autofill, they do some things like that to take away from it. But I'll tell you what, there are ways it reduces friction. So let me ask you, what feeling do you feel? Let's lay down on the couch here and get a little bit of psychology going on here, psychiatric. What is the feeling that you feel when you log into a website and it says, your password is expired, you need to come up with a new one right now? It's usually somewhere, at least for me, it's between fury and total like sadness, right? You're just like,
yes, absolutely.
God, I do not want to do that. Well, that's where password managers are kind of cool, because you go right click, boom, pick a new one, and it's done, right? So there are places that it actually, God, I sound like I work for a password manager place or something, right? But I don't.
Dave Lewis, is that you? Take off the mask.
Ironically, we just did a Security Masterminds episode with him. But anyways, there are places that it actually reduces that. And like with my wife and I, we share all the time the logins for the bank, for even ordering pizzas. So we're logging into the same account. And if we have to change the password, it's seamless. So there are places where, but a lot of people don't realize
if you understand it, it is very good. If you know how to use it, if you're familiar with it.
Right.
A lot of people still don't live in that world where they understand the value or the benefit or what have you. And anyway, we digress.
How many times do you get a question from somebody, just a regular Joe civilian person, who asks about, well, what VPN do you suggest?
I don't speak to average Joe, so
I'm like, dude, there's so many other things you need before a VPN.
Yeah, I said, speak to my PA, Eric Crone.
Oh God,
this is a really interesting story. Okay, so P2P networks, like good old Napster days or LimeWire and everything. You probably remember those. It's where people share their files from their computers to other people's, and it's broken down into bits, so you can get like bits from everyone, and it's more efficient and what have you. Really good technology. However, it does put a strain on the network. So normally what ISPs would do, if you're using a lot or you're violating the fair use policy or what have you, they tend to throttle your network. So you might be advertised as like 1 gig or whatever, upload, download. They'll give you only 250 or something out of that. So they'll reduce the amount you're using so that they can give a fair amount of traffic to everyone. The Korean telco KT came up with its own ingenious solution to this because they didn't want to throttle someone completely. They would insert
Malware, it
malware.
says.
It's inserted into the grid program, the code that allows KT users to exchange data and a peer-to-peer method. They put in some malware in there, which then for the user that has the files, it would make them invisible to other users. So there's no traffic then going on. They can't find it. They won't connect to it. And therefore the bandwidth remains intact. How would you feel if your ISP started inserting malware on your machine, Eric?
Yeah, that would bother me. I mean, I kind of get what they're going after here. And, if they hide your stuff, in some cases with torrents, you need to maintain a upload to download ratio, or you're not downloading anything. So that'll put the kibosh on it right there. Right.
Yeah.
And I get the idea behind throttling. And I'm more okay with that if it's in your in your terms of services, right? But the idea of dropping malware to do that, I mean, here's where you get into some ugly stuff. Like, what happens if there's a vulnerability in the program that they dropped on your machine and that gets exploited? Now, who's responsible for that?
Come
right?
on.
Well,
These are P2P users. They are they know the risks they're taking when they're like downloading linkinpark.mp3.exe. So like, it's not a big issue. I think personally, this is genius. I think it's not malware. This is next gen host based smart throttling.
God,
This
if I
is
see
like the
something like
Palo
that,
Alto of throttling services.
if I
for
see something
ISP.
like that on a booth at RSA next year or something along those lines, oh Lord have mercy, man.
It works. It works. See, this is great because if your teenage child is now is downloading torrents, and as a result, you get throttled, well, your connection, maybe you one day, but your connection gets throttled. So now you're lagging during your voice, your video calls. Your wife's Netflix is lagging. All these things. Your daughter can't do her homework, all because one member of your family is being like, oh, I want to download all these things on Napster. Now, flip it around. And you're not affecting anyone else in your household. It's only that one person that loses their ability to use that one dodgy service.
I'm going to go get a song off Napster so I can put it on the
way of tackling the problem.
I'm going to get a song off Napster so I can put it on my MySpace page when people come to it.
Yes.
Come on, man. No, there are legitimate uses for P2P and torrents and stuff, like downloading OSs in a lot of cases, like Unix OSs. You can do it through a torrent, and it's much easier. It's shared.
The ISP is against people who use them excessively. You're not downloading like 50 ISOs a day, are you?
How do you know? How do you know what I do? I could be a security researcher, and I need.
Well, I know because you've got Kaspersky, and they share the logs with everyone, apparently.
No, it is an interesting dilemma in how you do that. Like I said, I'm against them putting software on other people's machines. I do think it's funny though, because we've seen things like this happen even around here. Do you remember there was a Microsoft vulnerability, I think with Exchange, that the government was going out and patching these things that were exposed on the internet forum? Like, you're like, oh God, oh, you're with the government, you're here to help, right? Like, yeah, that felt a little weird too. So
yeah. It reminds me, there was something similar like a few summers ago. I think this might have been before COVID. There was like local police officers like in areas. They were going around, and because it was summer, a lot of people have their windows open to let breeze in or whatever, because not every house over here has aircon or whatever you like. And so they were seeing what they could get, where they could get in, and they would leave a note from the police saying, like, remember to secure your house and valuables. So people were coming back and like in their bedroom, like, whatever, through the window, someone had left this note on, and it was so weird. It was the same.
We call it
feeling
red
of, like,
teaming.
yeah.
Is there a
exactly.
bug bounty for something like this? Yeah, send me $20. I found out your window was open. It's
yeah. It's like a dumb plan. But speaking of dumb plans, but might work.
This one's great. I love this. I love and hate it.
You love it, honestly. You just love to see other people's misery, just because you're like, losing half an ear and half your hair on your head. You're now like, oh, let's laugh at other people who first lose money to crypto scammers, who then circle back a few months later posing as lawyers who can help you recover stolen crypto. They take more money from you and then disappear.
You've got to respect the deviousness of said scheme. Oh, we stole from you once. Let's come back dressed like we're here to help.
Now, what are the chances they're going to come back in 3 months, next quarter, as the FBI investigating dodgy legal firms?
I just, this is my problem. I don't have a problem with cryptocurrency. I really don't. Like, it's not something that I invest in or anything. But the poor people that are involved in cryptocurrency, it seems like they are a constant target. Like, you really got to be on your toes if you're going to play in the cryptocurrency game at any scale at all. Because, man, they are always after you. These are the folks that end up with their numbers ported for for SMS interception and stuff like that, for MFA. I mean, you are really putting a target on your back if you're doing a lot in the crypto space. It's unfortunate, but man, I mean, there's big money on the line and there's no way to claw it back. If you get someone in wire transfer fraud, there's still a chance they can go back and claw back that Swift transfers and stuff like that. With crypto, man, once it's on there, it's done. You're done. It's a done deal. And so it's sad, but clever. God, that was clever. It was devious.
It is clever. But being clever isn't enough, is it? It's the morals and the ethics, and
Yeah, that's what it is. It's morals and ethics.
And morals and ethics. Oh, well, yeah. Look at you just laughing there. Then you wonder why karma gets you so badly every so often. Like,
the older I get, it feels like I get further from retirement, and the more stuff like this is like, no, thank you. I'm not doing anything like that. But I'm just saying. I mean, you kind of go, oh, maybe, yeah.
But this is not just crypto. This could be applied. The same tactics could be applied to anything. So people could lose money to just general identity theft. And then someone comes along and says, like, we understand you've lost something to identity theft. This is the super extra secure identity theft protection service. Sign here.
Yeah.
So if you were to do something like that, what angle would you choose?
God, I don't even know.
Okay, so you set all to this podcast. So we cut our losses quickly and efficiently. We hope you enjoyed that. I think Eric enjoyed that a bit too much. We apologize if any of you have been victims of any crime and you feel offended. All views are representative of Eric Krone and Eric Krone alone, and not of the Jerick Show. Until next week, folks, stay secure, my friends.